Good afternoon, everyone. This is BremSter, and today I'm coming to you with a puzzle that was recommended of a type that I've never seen before. And I was looking at this one and thinking I would like to reset this puzzle, but it turns out that I don't have a contact with the author because this was a recommended, and I didn't want to play with it because it's a format I don't use. But I'll get to that in a minute. What I want to do is I want to go through the rules of the puzzle and then talk about the way that I possibly would have cosmetically set this one just in brief. But it's all cosmetic. It would have made no difference to the way that the puzzle was set. I wouldn't have changed the puzzle at all because I have no idea how this puzzle works. So let's talk about how the puzzle rules work. So normal Sudoku rules apply. So this is Trees and Tents by TinkerTroy. I don't know if I even said that. I'm a little bit daunted by this. This one looks really interesting and I have no idea how... I don't know anything about this, and I was told, well, if you've never seen logic like this before, you could find this a little bit tricky. So I could find this a little tricky. I've been told people who do these puzzles may find this one a bit easy, but I've never done a puzzle like this. So this will be interesting. So normal Sudoku rules apply. I've done that before. So though if you've watched enough of my channel, you may wonder, is that true? In every box, in every row, and in every column, the digits 1 to 9 must be placed without repetition. We've then got tents. Place one tent orthogonally adjacent to each tree. So the trees are cages. So it says tree/cage, or tree and then in brackets cage. So these cages are trees, and we have to place one tent orthogonally adjacent. So that means sharing an edge with each tree. Clues outside the grid indicate the number of tents in each row and column. So for example, there are 0 tents in this column. Tents may be next to multiple trees, but may only claim one as its own. Tents may not be adjacent, orthogonally, or diagonally to any other tent. So it's a bit like Star Battle, maybe? So, for example, if this was a tent, let's use yellow to indicate a tent. Actually, let's use green to indicate a tent. Then all of these would be barren and not have a tent on them. That's a terrible color choice, but anyway, that's the way we'll go with that for now. So because tents may not be adjacent orthogonally or diagonally to any other tent. Okay. And then each paired tree and tent sum to the given total posted on the tree. Now, they're the rules of the puzzle, and there's a link to the puzzle below where you can give it a try, send it same as everything. There's a whole lot of other links below as well to all sorts of stuff, but you can read through that. If you've never read through my description, give it a look at sometime. But anyway, onto this. The way I would have potentially set this is I would have used the digits in the corner like this, but I wouldn't have done cages. I would have done like a brown circle, or I would have done something to make it actually a tree, look like a tree, and that way it would have felt more thematic and they wouldn't have looked like cages. So I would have made it something like there was like a circle, not necessarily, maybe even that size. I may have made it a little bit bigger and thinner, but with the number outside the tree, so that you had that I'm not working on something with killer cages. I'm working on something that's a little bit different. That's probably the way I would have done it. And I've got some idea. I have several ideas on how I would have made that work, but very quickly, what I would have done is I would have used different color arrowheads without arrows coming out of them to make the circles, and then I would have put transparent, completely invisible cages, not white, because white would show up as the cage on top of it when you highlighted, a completely invisible cage with a number in the corner to make that work. And I think that may have made this feel a bit more thematic, but that's all just cosmetic. I'm really fascinated by this rule set, and I have no idea how it's going to work. So anyway, I got to restart the puzzle to restart my timer. Let's give this a shot. Now, what I am thinking is, because we've got digits at the top of... I'm literally coming at this from nothing. So because we know the counts of all of the columns and all of the rows, I'm assuming like 4 plus 3 plus 1, 8, 9, 11, 12, 17. There's 17 in the columns, but these would have to also be 17. So 5... 7, 9, 10, 17, and there'll have to be 17 cages. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. Right. That makes sense. I just wanted to wrap my head around that. So we've got to come up with the position of the the cage, or where they're going to come. So we know these are trees. And do I want to do some sort of color for the trees? What do I have? Um, it's very tempting. I'll just keep them as they are. If I'd thought in advance, I may have made a pale brown color that I could have shaded them. I could do that on now, but it would take a bit of time to get right, and I don't want to do that. I want to solve. Okay, so there's no tents in. So let's just mark in grey anything that cannot be a tent. And I'm assuming tents may be next to multiple trees. Tents may not be adjacent to any other tent. It doesn't say tents cannot be on trees. Is that an assumption I can make? Clues outside the grid indicate the number of tents in each row and column. Tents may be next to multiple trees. So, for example, could the tent for this tree be there? Like, could it be a hammock? It doesn't specifically say that it can't. Place tents, one tent orthogonally, and this is where I stated before, when people get puzzles tested, they really need to get their rules tested. Place one tent orthogonally adjacent to each tree. Clues outside the grid indicate the number of tents in each row and column. Tents may be next to multiple trees, but may only claim one as its own. Tents may not be adjacent orthogonally or diagonally to any other tent. I'm going to say they can't. Okay, I'm not going to say they can't be in trees because the rules don't state that. But I am going to say there's none in those columns. So the one for this is in one of those two. The one for this is in one of those two. Okay, this is going to be... And the one for this is going to be in one of those two. Now, it really makes you want to just say the one for this is there rather than in this tree. But I don't know that. No, I do know that. Because if the one for this tent was here, I could, because tents cannot be, tents may not be adjacent orthogonally or diagonal. Let's say, let's use a green line, which is going to be way too, that's not too bad. If that was the tent for 14, and that's what I'm using with this line, then, and I turned around and said this was a tent, then where would I put the tent for 16? Because as soon as I put that there, then all of these cells, and I honestly think the rules should explain this, but they're not, then all of those cells could not be tent, and I can't put a tent next to 16. So you can never put a tent for a tree on another tree. Right. Okay, cool. Maybe TinkerTroy did want you to figure that out, but it wasn't. I think that possibly should have been stated. But anyway, so this cannot, so no tree can contain a tent for a different tree. And the tree and the tent must be, yeah, so no tree can contain a tent because it would have to contain a tent for a different tree. And if it did that, then there would be nowhere to place the tent for itself. So what I can do now is I can say that there's only one place for the tent for that cage. There's only one place for the tent for that tree. And once I do that, then this is tent, this is tent, and then all of the stuff around it, that, and that are not tent. Now, because this is not tent, I can draw in that line. This becomes tent. Now, from the sums, I know that a 17 tent and tree must be an 8, 9. Those lines are terrible. The green line is always too opaque. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to try yellow. Yeah, it's easier to read. I should not have put green on grey. Switching between modes, always a little tricky. Now, the 15, why have I put... there's 0 in that column. So because there's 0 in this column, the only place I can put the tent for the 15 is there. And that should not have been grey. This is the problem with the different modes and colours and stuff, but that's okay. This is me noting stuff. And that makes all of those grey. Now there's only one left for that, which means that this becomes green and this becomes grey. Now I need a fourth in this column because I've only got 3. So this becomes tent, and the only thing it can be a tent for is the 5 cage. Now a tree must be next to a tent. A tent must be next to a tree. So any cell that is not next to a tree also cannot be tent. So those cannot be tent, that cannot be tent, that cannot be tent. Those cannot be tent, that cannot be tent. That's not orthogonally adjacent to anything. That's not. So those can't be. Is there any other cells that can't be adjacent to any other cells that cannot be adjacent to, that are not adjacent to? That one is not. That is, I think all of the others are. So these are the only possible places for tents. Okay, so the next thing I want to do is I want to mark completed clues. That one is completed. That one's not. 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 The 4 is. The 0 is. The 3 isn't, but I've only got 2 more places to put it. So these 2 cells here must both be tent. Okay. And if this was to connect to the 8, this couldn't connect to anything because the 5 already has its line. So this is the 8 and this is the 11. So now this can't be connected to anything because the 8 and the 11 are already done. This can't be connected to anything. That never could have been anyway. That's the 3 now done. And I'm probably... Why is it not drawing? And that's probably doing some weird stuff, but okay. Now there's only one place in this column to get my 1 because none of these are done. So I have to make that a tent, and that's now the 1 complete. But where do I connect the 1 to? The only place to connect it to is there. That's 3 in the row done. So that's the 3 in the row done. And that means that I'm switching between modes more than I'm solving. But I'm solving, not red, I wanted grey. Okay. Now, can I go further yet? I need 1 more in here. All of these have greyed out around them. One of those is... I need 1 more in there. It's a little bit of star battle logic, but I'm not very good at star battle. Two in this column. Both of those, there's only 2 tents that are not, 2 cells that can be tent in here, and it's those ones. Because these can't be, and that can't be. Why can't that be? Why did I... Oh, that can't be because it can't... None of those can be tent because they're not adjacent to anything. So both of those have to be in order for the 2 clue to be completed. Oh, this is cool. I mean, as I said, people who know this stuff may find this incredibly basic, but I've never done anything like this before, and this is really, really fascinating. So this has to connect to the 15. Now, the only thing this can connect to is the 16. Anything that is touching them, so that is now grey. And now how do I get 3 in here? Well, if this was a tint, then both of those would turn grey, and I'd only have 2 in the column. So that doesn't work. So that is grey, and now the only cells possible to be tints is those. The only thing that this can connect to is the 17. The only thing this can connect to is 12. This goes grey because it is diagonally adjacent to that one. Now, the only thing, what place the 14 can get its tint from is there, so I can draw that line in. Now, everything around the 14 goes grey. Whoops, I've done the wrong thing again. 14 connects to is the grey. The 4 can't take that cell. It has to take that one as its tint. So that, again, I'm in the wrong colour. When I click on the wrong color, everything just goes weird. So now those which are touched diagonally can't be it. The only place the 13 can get it, no, the only place the 13 can get its tint from is there. So I can draw that line in. Anything diagonally touching the 13 should go grey. That there is grey, not green. And then this has to be a tint so that the 3 has got one. Now I need to confirm all of my numbers. So there's 2 in this row, there's 2 in this row, there's 2 in this row, there's 1 in this row, there's 3 in this row, there's 1 in this row, and there's 3 in this row. I've got all of those, and I didn't change those, I don't think. 3, 0, 4. There's 1 in this column. There's 2 in this column. There's 1 in this column. There's 3 in this column, and there's 2 in this column. And that's all of the tintage done. So I'm going to get rid of all of the X's because they'll just distract me. I am going to keep the lines. Those are absolutely needed. But what I am going to do is, now that I've got all of that, I'm going to go to color mode, I'm going to select all the gray, and I'm going to delete the gray, and that is my tree and tint combination. Right. Now, I can do some killer Sudoku, basically. So I need to make 16. Well, the only way to make 16 is 7, 9. I can do 9, 7 if I start at the top because it's a high pair. If I do 7, 9, that is 16. If I was to do 8, I need another 8, and that's not going to work because these are all dominoes. This is 7, 9, which means this is the 8 and this is the 9. Now, this is a 3, so this is a 1, 2. This is a 4, so this is a 1, 3. Because it has to be 1 higher. I can't increase the 1. I can't use 2 2s. So this is 1 3. So this is the 2 and this is the 1. Looking for other high options. Another 17. So that's 8 9. This 5 maybe. $16. That's another 16. So that's another 7 9. So 7 is in one of those two by Sudoku. Now the 14 is either, well, it's not 9 5 anymore. So this is 8 6, and I know the order because I can't use 7 7 and I can't use a 9 on it. So this is 8 6. That 8 makes that the 6 and that the 8. Now this 15 still could be anything, I think, but it's different to that 15. Now, these are from 1, 2, 3, and 4. Now, the 14, well, the 14 must have an 8 or a 9 on it, and it must be there. So this is either 9, 5 or 8, 6. And the 12 can't have 8 or 9 on it, but it could be 7, 5. Well, it has to be 7, 5, right? Because I can't use 9, 3. I can't use 8, 4. I could use 7, 5, and 6, 6 doesn't work. So this is the 6, and this is the 8. Now this 11, I could use 2, 9. I can't use, I could use 3, 8. But only in a particular order. 3 and 8. I can't use 4, 7, and I can't use 5, 6. So those are the only possibilities there. In fact, 8 has to be in one of those two because of the 8s looking over into this box. 9 is not in any of those, and it's not on an 8K, so 9 is in one of those. Oh, this 8 is looking down, so that's 9 and that's 8. This is a quadruple. 1, 2, 3, 4. I don't like that at all. Maybe I should, because there is a 2 or a 3 there. So these 11 cages, that's actually forced. I can't use 9, 2 in either of them. I can't use 8, 3 in either of them. So there's 7, 4, and 5, 6. So these are 5, 6, 4, 5, 6, and 7. So these are 1, 2, and 3 only. And there's no 1 or 2 there. So that's a 3, and there's no 3 down here. This is a 1 and a 2. 1 would go with 4, 2 would go with 3. But that's a 1, 2 pair. That 3 does... I'm not sure. But there's no 1 or 2 on this. So this is not 1, 7 or 2, 6. So it's 3, 5. This is 3, 5 because I can't use 4, 4. So this is 4 and 2. No, sorry, 4 and 1 and 2. It's very easy to get this wrong because of the cage being in the single box. But I'm working on it. I've not done anything quite like this before, but I'm getting there. That means there's no 2 there. So there's no 9 there. There's no 5 there, so there's no 6 there. There's no 4 there, so there's no 7 there. 6 is in one of those two because of that 6. I'm probably solving this incredibly inefficiently, but that's kind of what I do. There's an 8 in one of those two. These are 4, 5, 6, and 8. 4, 5, 6, and 8. So there's no 5 or 8 there. So it's 4 or 6. That's also not floating my boat. 6 is in one of those. That could be 6, 9 though. Oh, this 5, 7 is looking over, making that 6, which means that is 5, which means there's no 5 or 6 on there. This is 4, 7. So these are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. These are 7, 8, 9. There's no 6 there. So this 7 must be in here, which looks up taking 7 out of there, making that 7. Oh, there's a 7 here. So this 15 cage can't be 7, 8. It is 6, 9, which means that's not the 6. And this can't be the 6, because if this was a 6, that'd be a 9, and that knocks it out. So that's not a 6 either. This is the 6. Now, this can't be 6, 9. This is 7, 8, which looks up making that 9 and that 6. No, 7, because this is a 16 cage, not a 15 cage. It's so easy to get these totals wrong. And it's possible with the cosmetic setting that I was thinking about, it would be easier to get them wrong. So, you know, that's a very doable thing. Now there's some X-Wing stuff going on, because I can see that has to be a 7. Let me explain. Where does 7 go in row 6? Because there's a 4, 7 pair and a 7, 8 pair there. So I cannot put 7 there. I cannot put 7 there. So 7 has to go in one of those two because that's a 1 or a 3. Now, where does 7 go in column 6? Because of the 7, 9 pair, I can't put it in any of those. Because of the 7 pair I just placed, I can't put it in any of those. Those aren't 7, so that is a 7. And the 5, 7 pair, of course, looked over saying that's not a 7, so that's an 8, 9 pair and that's a 7. That was there earlier and would have got me there a little bit faster, I think. But it's done now. Now, these are from 1, 2, 3, 4, which is what I had there before. So that's... I feel this puzzle isn't going to need that level of pencil marking. Although, for me, it probably will. Right, that 7, of course, looks down, making that the 5 and that the 7. 5 is in one of those two now because it's not in those or that or in any of those. And that's that 5 and that 5 doing some work. 5. This is a very cool puzzle, by the way. Something new, and I mean, I have no idea how new this is, but for me it's new and it's a lot of fun. So this is a quadruple that may be more restricted than I think, because it can't be 1, 2, 3, 7 or 8. So it's 4, 5, 6, 9. So this is a 4 or a 5 because it can't be 6 or 9. And that can't be 6. So 6 is in one of those two? Yeah. This is not doing it for me. I'm missing... There's quads everywhere. And I'm sure that one of those quads... Okay, so where's 2 in this box? Because of the 2 here, it's not in any of those. So 2 is in one of those two, which means 2 is in one of those two, which means 2 is in one of those 3. That's not... Wait a minute. 1 can't be in those, and it's not in those. So 1 is in here as well. So 1 is not there or there. So 1 is in one of those two. But I'm not seeing a similar pressure with 3 or 4. 4 is not there. So this is 2 or 3 only, because it can't be 1 or 4, and these are from 1, 2, 3, 4. No. 9 is in one of... here we go. 9 is in one of these two, because of the 9 knocking it out of there, the 9 knocking it out of there, and that being an 8. So where is 9 in this column? Well, it's not in those 3. It's not in those because of the 7, 9 pair, and neither of those are 9. So that is a 9. And now I've got 9 knocked out of those and those. That can't be a 9, and that's a 6. So that is a 9. And now I've got another quadruple. 2, 3, 4, 5. But there's no 2 there. So these are 3, 4, 5. No, that's not it. I mean, maybe it is. This is only a triple now, though, because I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So these are from 4, 5, 6, and that 6 means that's not the 6. So now I've got a 4, 5 pair, and that is the 6, which means 6 is in one of those two. I'm almost certainly doing this the wrong way. This 13 cage, I haven't even looked at it. It's not 9, 4. How have I missed this completely? It's not 9, 4. So it's 8, 5. And it could be 8, 5. It can't be 6, 7 because I can't put 7 in any of them. And then I get to 7, 6. This is 8, 5. So this is 4. This is 5. How did I miss that for so long? And now where is 8 in this row? It's not in any of those because of the 7, 8. It's not in any of those because of the 5, 8. So it's in one of those two. Five is now down here somewhere. And 8 is... Oh, it knocks 8 out of there and makes that the 8. This is now a triple. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So these are from 4, 5, 6. There's no 4 there. There's no 5 there. That's a 4, 6 pair. That's the 5. There's no 6 there. That's the 4. That's the 6. This is now a triple. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 1, 2, and 4 go in there. There's no 4 in those, so that's the 4. This is a 1, 2 pair. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 1, 2, and 4 go in there. There's no 4 in those, so that's the 4. This is a 1, 2 pair. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 1, 2, and 4 go in there. There's no 4 in those, so that's the 4. This is a 1, 2 pair. So these are from 1, 2, and 3, and there's no 1 in them. Where is 1 in this row? That's the 1, that's the 2. This is now a 2, 3 pair, but that can't be a 2 because I've got the 2 pencil marked there. Oh, because of the 2 having to point up from there. So that's the 3, that's the 2. And this is 4 and 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. This is 4 and 5. These are 1 and 3. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 1 and 3. The 3 looks down, making that the 2. And now where is 2 in this row? It's in one of those 2. These are from 1, 4, and 5, I think. And I can't put 5 in them. Where is 5 in this column? That's the 5, that's the 4. So this is 1 and 4. And 1, 2, this is a 3 now. Which means this is a 3, 5 pair. And this is a known triple. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Yep, 1, 2, 4. There's no 4 there. Oh, this 4 looked over making that 7 and that 4 ages ago. That turns back taking 4 out of there and making that the 4. This is a 1, 2 pair. The 7 looks back making that 8 and that 7. The 8 looks back making that 5 and that 8. The 5 looks over making that 3 and that 5. And this row is just missing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I'd misclicked, but this is 1 or 2 now, giving me a 1, 2, 3 triple in the column. This 6 looks down, making that 9 and that 6. The 9 looks down, making that 8 and that 9. And on this, because these sum to 11, 8 goes with 3. I wonder if I've missed others of those. It's possible. The 3 makes this 1, which makes this 3. The 1 makes this 4 and 1. This row is now just missing a 2. So 1, 2, 3, 4. No, this 3 makes this 5 and this 3. And this is not the 5 anymore. This is the 5. And this is just 4 and 9. And that 4 makes that the 9 and that the 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Now the 9 looks up making that the 7 and that the 9. The 3 looks up making that the 1 and that the 3. The 1 looks down making that the 2, which jumps across making that the 1 and that the 2. This column is just missing its 1. This by pencil marks, this is the 7. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. This row needs a 1 and 2 and a 3. I'll use that 1 to make that the 3 and that the 1. I think I've done everything except these 2 cells now. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 2 and 8. And I'll use that 8 to make that the 2 and that the 8. And that is the correct solution to Trees and Tents by TinkerTroy. Now, it's been solved 244 times before me. So, it's been seen a lot, and that makes a lot of sense. This is a very cool puzzle, and I'm really glad it got recommended. But I've never solved anything quite like this before, and I love it. This was a lot of fun. I'm getting a lot of really, really good puzzles sent through to me at the moment, and that's great for me. Stunning for me. That's win-win. That was really, really cool. Yeah, so happy to get puzzles like this. And again, I don't know that there was anything in there where I was like, what am I going to do? Pull my hair out. But that initial bit of just finding where the tents was really, really fun. And then I had a really nice killer Sudoku off the back of it. Stunningly good puzzle. Thank you, TinkerTroy, for giving permission for this one to be done. Thank you to the recommender for sending it through. I don't name the recommenders because I want the highlight to be on the setup every single time. So if you're thinking, I don't want to recommend a puzzle because I won't get a shout out, just you know who you are. And please don't let that hold you back. I really do want the focus to be on the setters, and I think that's the way it should be. Maybe I will do a thank you to recommenders at some point or anything. I don't know. We'll see how it goes. But I do thank the recommenders directly. That was a really cool little puzzle. I liked that one a lot. That was cool. So keep them rolling in, please. I hope to see more stuff like this because I don't really have time with all the recording and editing stuff to go and hunt on my own. So having everyone else in the community doing it for me, there's no better way to do it because that's just great. Thanks everyone for watching. Thank you to everyone who's involved, even as just a viewer to the channel. It means so much to me. You wouldn't understand. You do not know what this means to me. It is just a wonderful thing to be, and yeah, good luck with your solving.